Zefkar stood in the docking bay of the human vessel and tried not to show his disgust. The ship smelled wrong. It smelled of oil and metal and something else he could not name. His own people's ships smelled of clean air and polished stone. This place felt dirty and loud. The humans around him moved without order. They shouted at each other across the bay. They carried tools and boxes without any clear pattern. Some wore different colored uniforms. Others had no uniforms at all. Zefkar had studied human military structure before coming here, but seeing it made no sense. A tall human approached him. The man had gray hair and scars on his face. His uniform was clean, but looked old. He walked like a fighter, but his posture was wrong by Veltaran standards. Too loose. Too casual. "You must be our observer," the human said. His voice was rough. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison. Welcome to the USS Defiance." Zefkar gave the formal bow his people used when meeting military leaders. Captain Morrison did not bow back. Instead, he stuck out his hand. Zefkar had read about this human custom. He touched the captain's hand briefly. "I am Zefkar of the Veltaran Third Fleet," he said. "I come to observe and learn from your military practices." Captain Morrison smiled, but the smile looked strange. "Learn from us? That's a first. Most aliens think we're too primitive to learn anything from." The words surprised Zefkar. Most species did think humans were primitive. The humans had only joined galactic civilization 50 years ago. The Veltarans had been warriors for thousands of years, but he kept his thoughts to himself. "I look forward to seeing how humans conduct warfare," Zefkar said politely. Captain Morrison's smile became wider. "Oh, you'll see that soon enough. We just got orders. There's trouble at New Geneva Colony. Pirates have been hitting supply. Ships. The colonists asked for help." A younger human walked up to them. She had dark skin and short black hair. Her uniform was different from the captain's. More decorations. Her eyes moved constantly, watching everything around her. "This is Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez," Captain Morrison said. "She handles tactics. Amy, this is our Veltaran observer." Lieutenant Rodriguez looked at Zefkar like she was studying an enemy. "Pleasure," she said, but her tone suggested otherwise. "Captain, the briefing room is ready." They walked through the ship's corridors. Zefkar noticed more strange things. Human crew members talked loudly to each other. They used words he did not understand. Some of them laughed while they worked. On Veltaran ships, warriors worked in silence and focus. The briefing room was small and dark. Screens covered the walls. Several humans sat around a metal table. They all looked up when Zefkar entered. Their faces showed curiosity and something else. Suspicion, perhaps. "Everyone, this is Zefkar," Captain Morrison said. "He's here from the Galactic Council to observe our operations. Make him feel welcome." A large human with red hair nodded. "Commander Ben Parker, Strategic Operations," he said. "Hope you're ready for a rough ride." Zefkar took a seat at the table. The humans began discussing their mission. They spoke quickly and used many technical terms. But what disturbed Zefkar most was their attitude. They talked about the pirates like they were discussing a hunting trip. "The Krexthul have been hitting convoys for 3 weeks," Lieutenant Rodriguez said. "Intelligence says they have at least 12 ships, fast attack vessels mostly." Commander Parker pulled up images on the screens. New Geneva is isolated. No other colonies within 2 days' travel. The locals are scared. Captain Morrison leaned back in his chair. "Standard pirate suppression, then. We go in, find their base, and clean them out." "What about negotiation?" Zefkar asked. The humans turned to look at him. Perhaps they could be convinced to leave peacefully. The silence that followed made Zefkar uncomfortable. Several humans exchanged glances. Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke first. "Negotiate with Krexthul pirates," she said. "They don't negotiate. They take what they want and kill anyone who resists." But surely there are protocols, Zefkar continued. Rules of engagement, procedures for handling criminal elements. Captain Morrison's expression changed. His smile disappeared. The only protocol that matters is protecting innocent people. The Krexthul made their choice when they started attacking civilians. In Veltaran military tradition, Zefkar said carefully, we first offer the enemy a chance to surrender with honor. We follow the codes of civilized warfare. Commander Parker laughed, but it was not a pleasant sound. Civilized warfare. That's a good one. The Krexthul aren't interested in honor, Lieutenant Rodriguez added. They're interested in profit. The only language they understand is force. Zefkar felt confused. These humans spoke about their enemies with such hatred. Where was their professional detachment? Where was their respect for the warrior code? On Veltaran ships, officers discussed tactics calmly and with dignity. These humans seemed almost eager for violence. How do you plan to locate their base? Zefkar asked, trying to change the subject. We'll follow the trail, Captain Morrison said. Pirates need supplies, fuel, food, ammunition. They can't stay hidden forever. And when you find them, the captain's eyes became cold. Then we end the threat, permanently. The meeting continued for another hour. The humans discussed weapons, ship movements, and attack patterns. They planned their assault with detailed precision. But their methods troubled Zefkar. They showed no concern for honor or tradition. They spoke only of efficiency and results. When the briefing ended, the humans filed out of the room. Zefkar remained in his seat, trying to understand what he had witnessed. Lieutenant Rodriguez stopped beside him. Something wrong? She asked. Your people approach warfare differently than mine, Zefkar said. Different how? You seem to take it personally. Lieutenant Rodriguez studied his face. Maybe because it is personal. Those pirates aren't just numbers on a report. They're killers threatening innocent families. That makes it personal for us. She left him alone in the dark room. Zefkar sat, quietly, and thought about her words. On Veltaran worlds, military officers were trained to maintain emotional distance from their missions. Warfare was a duty, not a passion. It was conducted according to ancient rules and traditions. But these, humans seemed to have no such restraints. They approached combat like it was a problem to be solved rather than a ritual to be performed. The realization made him uneasy. A ship-wide announcement interrupted his thoughts. Captain Morrison's voice echoed through the speakers. All hands. Prepare for departure. We're heading to New Geneva system. Estimated arrival in 18 hours. Zefkar felt the ship's engines come to life. The vibration traveled through the metal floors and walls. He stood and walked to his assigned quarters. The small room contained a simple bed, a desk, and a viewing port. Through the port, he watched stars streak past as the ship entered faster than light travel. Somewhere ahead waited the Krexthul pirates. Zefkar had fought pirates before. It was usually a straightforward matter. Issue warnings, accept surrenders, capture prisoners, and return stolen goods to their owners. But he suspected the humans would handle things differently. Their casual attitude toward violence disturbed him. Their lack of formal military courtesy seemed unprofessional. Most troubling of all was their obvious hatred for their enemies. As he prepared for sleep, Zefkar wondered what he would witness in the coming days. He had come to observe human military tactics and report back to the Galactic Council. His people wanted to understand how these newcomers had survived and thrived in such a dangerous galaxy. Now he was beginning to suspect the answer might be more disturbing than anyone had imagined. The USS Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Geneva system. Zefkar stood on the bridge beside Captain Morrison, watching the main screen. The system looked peaceful. A yellow star surrounded by several planets. Nothing seemed wrong. Scan shows 3 ships near the 4th planet, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from her station. Krexthul design. They're in orbit around New Geneva. Captain Morrison nodded. Any sign of the colonists? Picking up distress signals from the surface. Looks like the pirates have them pinned down in the main settlement. Zefkar expected the captain to call for a formal challenge. In Veltaran, tradition. Enemy ships were given a chance to withdraw before battle began. Instead, Captain Morrison turned to his weapons officer. "Target their engines," he ordered. "Fire when ready." "Sir, shouldn't we attempt contact first?" Zefkar asked. "Captain." Morrison looked at him with surprise. "Contact? They're attacking civilians. What's to discuss?" Before Zefkar could respond, the USS Defiance fired. Bright energy beams crossed space and struck two of the pirate ships. The vessels erupted in explosions. The third ship tried to, flee, but human fighters were already launching from the carrier bay. "Two down, one running," the weapons officer reported. "Fighters are in pursuit." Zefkar watched in shock. The entire engagement had lasted less than 3 minutes. The humans had given no warning, made no demands for surrender, offered no quarter. They had simply attacked and destroyed. "Beginning planetary approach," the pilot announced. "Reading multiple ground targets around the colony." Captain Morrison activated the ship's communication system. "Major Alex Stone, prepare your Marines for ground assault. We're going in hot." A gruff voice responded through the speakers. "Copy that, Captain. My boys are ready." The ship descended toward New Geneva's surface. Through the viewing ports, Zefkar could see a green world covered in forests and rivers. The human colony sat in a cleared valley surrounded by hills. Smoke rose from several buildings. Even from space, he could see Krexthul ground vehicles moving through the settlement. "There," Lieutenant Rodriguez pointed at her screen. 12 enemy vehicles. Looks like they're trying to break into the main shelter where the colonists are hiding. Captain Morrison studied the tactical display. "Alex, you see the target area?" "I see it," Major Stone replied. "But those hills are perfect for an ambush. The Krexthul probably have scouts watching for incoming ships." "Then we'll give them something to watch," the captain said. He turned to his pilot. "Take us in loud and obvious. Make them think we're planning a direct assault on the colony." "Sir?" the pilot asked. "Do it. Full engine power, all lights, make as much noise as possible." Zefkar did not understand. "Why would you want to alert the enemy to your approach?" Lieutenant Rodriguez smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Because while they're watching us, they won't see what's really coming." The USS Defiance roared over the hills surrounding New Geneva. Its engines screamed and its hull gleamed in the sunlight. Every Krexthul on the planet would know the humans had arrived. Zefkar expected them to land and begin a formal ground assault. Instead, the ship passed over the colony without stopping. It disappeared behind the far hills and began circling back at low altitude. "Major Stone, you're clear for drop," Captain Morrison announced. "Copy. Going in quiet." Zefkar looked at the tactical screen. Small dots were dropping from the USS Defiance as it flew its circuit. The dots spread out and disappeared into the forest. He realized the humans were deploying their soldiers behind enemy lines, while the pirates watched the main ship. "How many troops did you deploy?" he asked. 40 Marines, Lieutenant Rodriguez said. "Led by Sergeant Lisa Carter, best squad leader in the fleet." 40 soldiers against how many pirates? "Intelligence estimates 200 Krexthul on the ground." Zefkar felt alarmed. "The odds are against you. Shouldn't you call for reinforcements?" Captain Morrison looked at him strangely. 40 Marines are plenty. You'll see." The USS Defiance continued its loud flight pattern over the colony. On the communication channels, Zefkar could hear the Marines reporting their positions. They spoke in short, coded phrases that revealed nothing useful to anyone listening. "Red team in position," a voice whispered. "Blue team ready," another replied. "Green team has eyes on target." Sergeant Carter's voice cut through the chatter. "All teams stand by, waiting for fireworks." "What are fireworks?" Zefkar asked. Lieutenant Rodriguez pointed at her screen. "That!" The USS Defiance suddenly changed course. Instead of circling, it dove straight toward the colony. Its weapons began firing at the Krexthal vehicles. The pirates scattered, trying to find cover from the aerial attack. At that moment, the forest around the settlement erupted in explosions. "All teams, go, go, go!" Sergeant Carter ordered. On the tactical display, Zefkar watched 40 small dots rush toward the much larger enemy force. But the pirates were trapped between the attacking ship above and the Marines in the trees. They had no idea where the real threat was coming from. The battle was chaos. Human Marines appeared from behind rocks and trees, fired their weapons, then disappeared again. They used the forest like it was part of their team. Krexthul soldiers tried to organize a defense, but they were being attacked from every direction. "Blue team, take out that command vehicle," Sergeant Carter ordered. "Copy that. Danny, you're up." A massive explosion shook the ground. One of the largest Krexthul vehicles vanished in a ball of fire. Zefkar saw a small figure running away from the blast site. The human called Danny had somehow gotten close enough to plant explosives on an enemy command post. "Nice work, right?" Sergeant Carter said. "Red team, push them toward the river." The Marines began herding the confused pirates like animals. Every time the Krexthul tried to regroup, human soldiers appeared from a new direction. They used smoke grenades, flash bombs, and weapons Zefkar had never seen before. "What are those devices?" he asked, pointing at the screen. "Improvised explosives," Lieutenant Rodriguez explained. "The Marines make them from whatever they can find. Very effective against enemy morale." Zefkar watched a group of Krexthul soldiers abandon their positions and run toward their ships. But the Marines had anticipated this. More explosions blocked their escape route. The pirates found themselves trapped in an area of open ground with no cover. "Attention, Krexthul forces!" Sergeant Carter's voice boomed across the battlefield. "You are surrounded. Drop your weapons and surrender." For a moment, the fighting stopped. The pirates looked around at the smoking ruins of their vehicles and the bodies of their comrades. Some of them threw down their guns and raised their hands. Others tried to keep fighting. The humans showed no mercy to those who resisted. Their weapons fire was precise and deadly. Within minutes, the remaining pirates were either dead or surrendering. The entire ground battle had lasted less than an hour. "Colony secured," Sergeant Carter reported. "Prisoners ready for pickup." Captain Morrison nodded with satisfaction. "Good work. Bring them up." As the USS Defiance landed near the settlement, Zefkar tried to process what he had witnessed. The human assault had been unlike anything in his military experience. They had used deception, improvised weapons, and psychological warfare. They had shown no interest in honorable combat or fair fighting. Most disturbing of all, they had been incredibly effective. "The colonists are safe," Lieutenant Rodriguez said, monitoring communications from the surface. "No civilian casualties. The pirates are neutralized." "What will happen to the prisoners?" Zefkar asked. "They'll be questioned," Captain Morrison replied. "Pirates usually know about other pirate bases. We'll find out what they know. And then they'll be turned over to colonial authorities for trial." Zefkar felt some relief. At least the humans followed some civilized procedures. But as he watched the Marines boarding the ship with their prisoners, he noticed something troubling. The captured Krexthul looked terrified. They kept glancing at their human guards like they expected to be killed at any moment. He had seen prisoners of war before. Usually they maintained some dignity even in defeat. These pirates acted like broken animals. What had the humans done to them during the battle? "Captain," he said carefully, "your soldiers seem to have thoroughly demoralized the enemy." Captain Morrison smiled again. "That's the idea. Break their will to fight and the battle ends faster. Saves lives on both sides." "But surely there are rules about treatment of prisoners." "Of course. We follow all the proper protocols. The prisoners will be fed, given medical attention, and treated according to galactic conventions." Yet Zefkar could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. The way the pirates cowered from their guards suggested they had experienced something beyond normal combat, something that had stripped away their courage and left them hollow. As the USS Defiance lifted off from New Geneva, Zefkar looked down at the settlement. Human Marines were already helping the colonists repair their damaged buildings. From space, it looked like a rescue mission. Clean and simple. But Zefkar had watched the battle closely. He had seen how the humans fought. There had been nothing clean or simple about it. They had used every advantage, exploited every weakness, and shown no concern for martial honor, and it had worked perfectly. 3 days after the New Geneva raid, the USS Defiance received new intelligence. The captured pirates had talked. They revealed the location of the main Krexthul base in the system. Captain Morrison called another briefing. "The base is on Terminus Station," Lieutenant Rodriguez announced. "An old mining platform in the asteroid belt. Intelligence says 50 ships and over 1,000 pirates." Zefkar studied the images on the screen. Terminus Station was massive, built into a hollowed asteroid. It had multiple docking bays and defensive weapons. Taking such a fortress would require a large fleet and careful planning. "When do we call for reinforcements?" he asked. The humans around the table exchanged glances. Commander Ben Parker spoke first. "Reinforcements? Surely you cannot attack such a position with one ship," Zefkar said. "You will need at least 10 vessels, perhaps 20. Captain Morrison leaned back in his chair. "We don't have time to wait for a fleet. The pirates know we captured their scouts. They'll either run or call for help. We need to hit them now." "But the odds don't matter," Lieutenant Rodriguez interrupted. "We have advantages they don't, such as surprise, speed, and the fact that they're pirates, not real soldiers." Zefkar felt confused. "I do not understand the distinction." "Pirates fight for profit," Commander Parker explained. "When the shooting starts, half of them will run to save their own skins. Real soldiers fight for each other. But they still outnumber you 50-1. Captain Morrison smiled. "Numbers aren't everything. Sometimes one wolf can scatter a whole flock of sheep." The briefing continued with detailed planning. The humans intended to attack Terminus Station directly. They would use their ship's speed to get close before the pirates could organize a defense. Then they would board the station and fight room by room until it was secure. It sounded like madness to Zefkar. In Veltaran military doctrine, such an assault would be suicide. His people would spend weeks studying the target, gathering intelligence, and positioning multiple ships for a coordinated attack. "What about civilian hostages?" Zefkar asked. "Pirates often keep prisoners." "We'll find them," Sergeant Lisa Carter said. She had joined the briefing to discuss ground tactics. "My teams are trained for hostage rescue, and if the pirates threaten to kill them." "Then we kill the pirates first," she replied simply. After the meeting, Zefkar approached Colonel Nina Hayes. She was the Special Forces commander, a small woman with hard eyes and numerous scars. He had heard the other humans speak of her with respect and fear. "Colonel, may I ask about your combat experience?" She looked at him suspiciously. "What do you want to know?" "Your people seem very confident about this mission. Have you faced similar odds before?" Colonel Hayes considered the question. "Worse odds. On Kepler Prime, my team took out a terrorist base with 300 enemies. We had 12 soldiers." "How is that possible?" "Planning, patience, and the willingness to do whatever it takes." "What does that mean?" She studied his face. "It means we don't fight fair. Fair fights are for sports, not war." The USS Defiance approached Terminus Station 12 hours later. Zefkar stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display. The asteroid fortress grew larger on the screen. He could see dozens of pirate ships docked to its surface. "They've spotted us," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "Enemy ships are launching." "How many?" Captain Morrison asked. 23 vessels so far. More launching every minute. Zefkar expected the human ship to retreat. 23 enemy vessels against one seemed hopeless. Instead, Captain Morrison ordered an attack. All weapons, fire at will. Target their engines first. The USS Defiance charged straight into the enemy formation. Its weapons blazed continuously, striking one pirate ship after another. But instead of trying to destroy them, the humans targeted their propulsion systems. Disabled ships drifted helplessly. In space, why not destroy them? Zefkar asked. Crippled ships blocked the docking bays, Lieutenant Rodriguez explained. Makes it harder for more pirates to launch. It was brilliant tactical thinking. The humans were using the enemy's own ships as obstacles. Within minutes, Terminus Station's docking bays were clogged with damaged vessels. The remaining pirates could not get their ships into space. Take us in close, Captain Morrison ordered. Prepare boarding parties. The USS Defiance rammed through the debris field around the station. Its armored hull scraped against disabled pirate ships. Sparks flew across the viewports as metal ground against metal. Boarding tubes deployed, Sergeant Carter reported. First wave ready to go. Launch all teams, the captain ordered. Through the ship's internal cameras, Zefkar watched human Marines prepare for the assault. They wore full combat armor and carried weapons he did not recognize. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, making them look like mechanical warriors. Breaching now, Colonel Hayes announced. The station's hull exploded inward as human cutting. Charges blew holes in the metal walls. Marines poured through the gaps like water through a broken dam. The battle for Terminus Station had begun. Zefkar followed the assault through tactical displays and radio communications. The humans moved through the station with frightening efficiency. They knew exactly where to go and what to do. Red Team, secure the command center, Colonel Hayes ordered. Blue Team, find the power generators. Green Team, locate any hostages. The pirates tried to mount a defense, but they were unprepared for the human assault. Their station had been designed to resist attacks from outside, not from within. The Marines exploited every weakness in the interior layout. Explosive charges set on level 3, a voice reported. Copy that. All teams clear the area. The explosion shook the entire station. Emergency lights flickered as power systems failed. In the darkness, human soldiers continued their advance using night vision equipment. Contact! Contact! Someone shouted. Heavy resistance at Junction 7. Suppressing fire. Move up, another voice replied. Zefkar listened to the radio chatter and tried to understand the battle. The humans communicated in short, efficient phrases. They seemed to know exactly what each other was thinking. Their coordination was perfect despite the chaos around them. Found the hostages, Sergeant Carter announced. 47 civilians, mostly miners from the outer colonies. Status? Colonel Hayes asked. Alive but scared. Some injuries. The pirates were planning to sell them as slaves. Secure them and move to extraction point. The rescue of the hostages revealed something important about human priorities. Despite being outnumbered and under fire, they had made saving innocent lives their primary objective. The tactical situation was secondary. Command center secured, a new voice reported. We have their communication equipment. Good. Monitor all frequencies. I want to know what they're planning. The humans were not just fighting the pirates. They were gathering intelligence at the same time. Every piece of equipment they captured, every prisoner they took, every computer they accessed added to their understanding of the enemy. Power generator destroyed, another team reported. Station is running on emergency backup. Excellent. That cuts their defensive systems by half. The assault continued for 3 hours. Slowly but steadily, the humans took control of Terminus Station. They captured strategic points, disabled critical systems, and eliminated organized resistance. But what disturbed Zefkar most was their treatment of prisoners. Unlike the battle at New Geneva, the pirates here fought harder. Some of them had nowhere to run. When cornered, they chose to fight to the death rather than surrender. The humans accommodated them. "Sergeant, we have 15 pirates barricaded in Cargo Bay 4, a Marine reported. "Have you offered them a chance to surrender?" Sergeant Carter asked. "Yes, sir." "They refuse. Then end it." The explosion that followed was much larger than necessary. When the smoke cleared, Cargo Bay 4 no longer existed. Neither did the 15 pirates inside it. "Cargo Bay secured," the Marine reported. Zefkar felt sick. The humans had used enough explosives to demolish the entire section. It was wasteful and excessive. In Velteran warfare, such overkill would be considered dishonorable. Why so much? "Destruction?" he asked Lieutenant Rodriguez. "Sends a message to the other pirates," she replied. "Surrender or die." Most of them choose surrender after a demonstration like that. She was right. Within an hour, the remaining pirates began laying down their weapons. Word of the Cargo Bay incident had spread throughout the station. The Krexthul had realized that the humans were serious about their threats. "Station secured," Colonel Hayes announced. "All hostiles neutralized or captured." Captain Morrison nodded with satisfaction. "Casualties?" 3 wounded, none killed. The hostages are safe. "Good work, everyone. Begin salvage operations." As the USS Defiance took control of Terminus Station, Zefkar walked through the captured facility. Human engineers were already studying the pirate technology. They dismantled weapons systems, copied computer files, and cataloged every piece of equipment. "What will you do with all this?" he asked Commander Parker. "Learn from it. The pirates had some interesting modifications to their ships. We might be able to use those techniques ourselves." "Is that legal?" Commander Parker looked at him strangely. "It's battlefield salvage, perfectly legal under galactic law." But Zefkar noticed that the humans were being very selective about what they salvaged. They ignored valuable metals and rare materials. Instead, they focused on weapons, communication, equipment, and computer data. They were not interested in profit. They were interested in knowledge that would help them fight future battles. The realization troubled him more than the violence had. The interrogation rooms on the USS Defiance were smaller than Zefkar expected. He stood behind one-way glass, watching Captain Ruby Chen question a captured Krexthul commander. The pirate sat at a metal table, his hands bound with restraints. Captain Chen sat across from him, looking relaxed. She had brought coffee and offered some to the prisoner. He refused with a snarl, showing his sharp teeth. "Your name is Vexthul according to your ship's records," she said calmly. "You've been raiding in this sector for 8 months." "I tell. You nothing, human," the pirate replied. "That's fine. We already know most of what we need." Captain Chen opened a folder and spread photos across the table. Images of destroyed ships, dead colonists, and burned settlements. The Krexthul commanders' eyes widened slightly when he saw them. 17 raids, 233 civilians killed, 47 taken as slaves. She spoke like she was reading a shopping list. "You've been busy." "War is war," Vexthul growled. This wasn't war. This was murder for profit. Zefkar watched the interrogation with growing unease. In Velteran, tradition, captured enemies were treated with dignity. Questions were asked formally, and prisoners could refuse to answer without punishment. This human approach felt different. Captain Chen continued showing photos. Each image was worse than the last. Children's bodies, burned homes, destroyed families. The Krexthul commander tried to look away, but she kept placing new pictures in front of him. "Why are you showing me this?" he finally asked. "Because I want you to remember what you've done, before we discuss what comes next." "What comes next?" "Captain." Chen smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "That depends on how helpful you are." Through the speaker system, Zefkar heard another human enter the room. Sergeant Mike Torres was a large man with cold eyes. He did not speak to the prisoner. He simply stood behind Captain Chen and stared. "My colleague here has some interesting ideas about questioning techniques," Captain Chen said. "But I prefer conversation." "I have nothing to say." "Really?" "Not. Even about the other bases? The supply routes? The slave markets?" The Krexthul commander shifted in his chair. "What other bases?" "Come now, Vexthul. You don't think Terminus Station was the only pirate haven in the sector, do you?" Captain Chen pulled out more photos. These showed star charts and shipping. Lanes. Red marks indicated attack sites. The pattern was clear even to Zefkar. The raids were too coordinated to be random. "Someone has been organizing these attacks," she continued. "Someone with access to shipping schedules and patrol routes. Someone with connections inside the colonial government." "You know nothing. I know enough. The question is whether you want to help us find the rest of your organization, or whether you want us to find them ourselves. What difference does it make?" Captain Chen leaned forward. "The difference is what happens to you afterward." Sergeant Torres stepped closer to the table. The prisoner flinched away from him. Whatever reputation human interrogators had among pirates, it was clearly fearsome. "Your choice," Captain Chen said. "Cooperation, or we turn you over to Sergeant." "Torres!" Zefkar felt disturbed by the implied threat. Galactic law prohibited torture of prisoners. Surely the humans would not violate such fundamental principles, but the Krexthul commander clearly believed they would. "What do you want to know?" he asked quietly. "Everything. Start with the other bases." The interrogation continued for 2 hours. Captain Chen was skilled at extracting information. She asked specific questions that revealed her knowledge of pirate operations. She knew names, dates, and locations that surprised even Zefkar. Gradually, a larger picture emerged. The Krexthul pirates were part of a massive criminal network. They had bases in 12-star systems. They sold slaves to mining corporations and weapons dealers. Most disturbing of all, they had contacts inside several colonial governments. "The governor of Kepler 7 takes payments," Vexthul admitted. "He gives us shipping schedules in exchange for 20% of our profits." "What about military patrols?" "Commander Nash of the patrol ship Ranger. He makes sure his ship is never where we attack." Captain Chen wrote down every name and detail. She cross-referenced the information with data from the ship's computers. Some facts checked out immediately. Others would require investigation. "Why?" "Are you doing this?" Zefkar asked when Captain Chen took a break. "Doing what?" "This interrogation. You already have enough evidence to convict him. Why do you need more information?" Captain Chen looked at him with surprise. "Because this isn't about one pirate ship. It's about dismantling the entire network. But that is not your mission. You were sent to protect New Geneva." New Geneva was just the beginning. These pirates have killed hundreds of innocent people. As long as their network exists, more colonies will be attacked. "So you intend to hunt them all down?" "Every last one." The certainty in her voice chilled Zefkar. This was not justice. This was extermination. What about legal proceedings? Trials? Due process? "They'll get trials, after we capture them. And if they resist?" Captain Chen's expression hardened. "Then they won't need trials." Later that day, Zefkar met with Captain Morrison in his quarters. The captain was reviewing intelligence reports from the interrogation. Names and locations covered his desk. "Your people are very thorough," Zefkar observed. "We have to be. Half measures don't work against criminals like this." "In Veltaran, space, we have procedures for dealing with pirates. We patrol regularly, investigate reports, and arrest those we find. How's that working out for you?" The question surprised Zefkar. "What do you mean?" "How many pirate attacks occur in Veltaran space each year?" Zefkar thought about it. "Perhaps 50 or 60 incidents. We had 12 attacks in human space last year. Total. But you have fewer colonies than we do. We have more shipping traffic, more valuable targets. But pirates know better than to attack human vessels. Why?" Captain Morrison leaned back in his chair. Because they know what happens when they do. Word gets around. What word? That humans don't negotiate with pirates. We don't accept ransoms. We don't make deals. We hunt them down and eliminate them. Zefkar felt a chill. Eliminate them? Pirates are like parasites. You can't cure a parasite infection by asking it politely to leave. You have to kill every single one, or the infection comes back stronger. But surely some could be reformed, rehabilitated. Captain Morrison showed him a photo from the interrogation. Files. It showed a human child, maybe 6 years old, lying dead in the ruins of a settlement. Her name was Kelly Watson, he said quietly. The pirates killed her because she cried too loudly when they murdered her parents. Zefkar stared at the image. The child's face was peaceful, as if she were only sleeping. But her clothes were torn and bloody. This is what we're fighting against, Captain Morrison continued. Not warriors seeking honor or glory, not soldiers following orders. These are predators who prey on the innocent. I understand your anger. This isn't anger. This is necessity. The captain's voice was calm but firm. In our sector of space, families can live in peace because pirates know the price of threatening them. What price? Death. Swift, certain, and complete. Zefkar left the meeting feeling deeply troubled. The humans spoke of pirate elimination like it was pest control. There was no room in their thinking for mercy or redemption. They had reduced a complex moral issue to a simple equation. Pirates threatened innocence. Therefore, pirates must die. That evening, he stood in his quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere in this system were 11 more pirate bases. Captain Morrison had already ordered course changes to investigate each one. The USS Defiance would hunt down every criminal in the network, and Zefkar was beginning to realize they would succeed. The thought should have pleased him. Justice would be served. Innocent lives would be saved. The sector would be safer. Instead, he felt afraid, not of the pirates. They were clearly evil and deserved punishment. He was afraid of the humans. Their efficiency was terrifying. Their determination was absolute. They approached the elimination of their enemies with the same casual precision they used for routine maintenance. What disturbed him most was their complete lack of doubt. They never questioned whether their methods were right. They never wondered if there might be a better way. They had identified a problem and decided on a solution. Everything else was just implementation. The USS Defiance changed course toward the next target. In the distance, Zefkar could see the lights of other ships. Human reinforcements were arriving to help with the operation. Soon, this entire sector would be free of pirates, and Zefkar was beginning to understand what that really meant. 3 weeks later, the pirate network was gone. 11 bases destroyed. Over 400 criminals captured or killed. Thousands of innocent lives saved. The operation had been a complete success by any measure. Zefkar sat in his quarters aboard the USS Defiance, staring at a blank report form. He was supposed to summarize his observations for the Galactic Council. His people wanted to understand how humans had become so effective at warfare. But he did not know how to explain what he had witnessed. The door chimed, and Captain Morrison entered. He looked tired but satisfied. The past weeks had been intense. For everyone aboard the ship. Finishing your report? He asked. Attempting to, Zefkar replied. It is more difficult than I expected. What's the problem? Zefkar gestured at the empty form. How do I describe your people's approach to warfare? How do I explain what I have seen? Captain Morrison sat down across from him. Just tell the truth. The truth is disturbing. How so? Zefkar chose his words carefully. Your people fight unlike any species I have encountered. You show no mercy to your enemies. You use any method that brings victory. You destroy your opponents completely. And that disturbs you? It should disturb anyone who values civilization. Captain Morrison was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. Can I ask you something about your people's military history? Of course. How many wars have the Veltarans lost? The question surprised Zefkar. Lost? We do not lose wars. We are the finest warriors in the galaxy. Really? How many species have conquered Veltaran worlds? None. Our homeworld has never been invaded. How many times has your civilian population been threatened with extinction? Never. Our military protects our people. Captain Morrison nodded. That's what I thought. You've never faced a real existential threat. What do you mean? Your people have the luxury of honorable warfare because you've always been strong enough to survive it. You can afford to follow codes and traditions because your enemies do the same. And humans cannot? Humans have been prey animals for most of our history. On our homeworld, everything bigger than us tried to eat us. The only reason we survived was by being smarter, more ruthless, and more willing to do whatever it took. Captain Morrison stood and walked to the viewing port. Outside, stars streaked past as the ship traveled toward human space. When we reached the galaxy, we discovered the same pattern. Bigger, stronger species tried to dominate us. They thought we were weak because we were new. But you proved them wrong. We proved them dead wrong, literally. The captain turned back to face Zefkar. His expression was serious but not angry. You want to know why we fight the way we do? It's because the alternative is extinction. Your people can afford to lose battles and still survive. We can't. But surely there must be some middle ground. Some way to be effective without being brutal. There is. It's called being strong enough that no one wants to fight you. Captain Morrison returned to his seat. Let me tell you something about human military doctrine. We don't fight wars to be honorable. We fight wars to end them. Permanently. By killing all your enemies? By making it clear that attacking humans is suicide. When potential enemies know what will happen to them, they usually choose to be peaceful neighbors instead. Zefkar thought about the pirate raids they had stopped. The criminals had been eliminated so thoroughly that other pirates were already fleeing the sector. Word was spreading through the criminal underground that human space was off limits. So your brutality is a deterrent? Our effectiveness is a deterrent. The brutality is just what effectiveness looks like when you're fighting for survival. But you are not fighting for survival now. Humanity is safe. Your worlds are protected. Captain Morrison smiled sadly. Are they? There are dozens of species in this galaxy stronger than us. Any one of them could wipe out human civilization if they decided we were a threat. The Galactic Council would never allow... The Galactic Council didn't exist when the Zephyrians tried to sterilize our colonies, or when the hegemony attempted to enslave our outer worlds. We stopped those threats ourselves. Zefkar had heard rumors about those conflicts, but never the details. What happened? We made it clear that attacking humanity was a losing proposition. The Zephyrians lost their entire fleet. The hegemony lost their core worlds. You destroyed their home worlds? We destroyed their ability to threaten us. Some of their cities survived. The casual way Captain Morrison discussed the destruction of entire civilizations made Zefkar feel sick. But he was beginning to understand the human perspective. You fight total wars. We fight to win. Everything else is just tactics. Captain Morrison stood to leave, but paused at the door. Can I give you some advice about your report? Please. Don't tell your people everything you've learned here. Why not? Because if the Galactic Council truly understood how humans wage war, they would unite against us in terror. And then we'd have to demonstrate our capabilities on a much larger scale. After the captain left, Zefkar sat alone with his thoughts. The truth was even more disturbing than he had imagined. Humans were not just effective warriors. They were an existential threat to every other species in the galaxy, but they were also protectors of the innocent. They had saved thousands of lives during the pirate campaign. They followed galactic law when dealing with legitimate governments. They showed mercy to those who deserved it. The contradiction was maddening. He began writing his report, choosing each word carefully. He described human tactical innovations and strategic thinking. He praised their coordination and efficiency. He recommended that Veltaran forces study human methods, but he did not mention the casual way humans discussed genocide. He did not describe their absolute ruthlessness toward enemies. He did not explain how they had turned warfare into a science of destruction. Some truths were too dangerous to share. 2 days later, the USS Defiance arrived at Earth Station Alpha. Zefkar prepared to transfer to a Veltaran ship for the journey home. He had completed his exchange program and gathered the intelligence his people wanted. Captain Morrison came to see him off at the docking bay. The human officer looked genuinely sad to see him go. "I hope your time with us was educational," he said. "More than you know," Zefkar replied. "Any final thoughts about human military doctrine?" Zefkar considered the question. "I have learned that your people are very good at solving problems." "Thank you." "I did not say it was a compliment, Captain." Morrison laughed. "Fair enough. Will you be recommending closer military cooperation between our peoples?" "I will recommend caution." "Caution about what?" "About making humans feel threatened." The captain's expression became serious. "That's probably wise advice." As Zefkar boarded the Veltaran transport, he looked back at the USS Defiance one last time. The ship looked ordinary enough, just another military vessel among thousands in the station. But he now knew what it really was. A weapon of unimaginable destruction, crewed by beings who saw warfare as problem-solving rather than combat. They would use any method, accept any cost, and destroy any enemy to protect what they valued. The galaxy thought humans were crude newcomers learning to be civilized. The galaxy was wrong. Humans had not learned to be civilized. They had learned to appear civilized while remaining the most dangerous predators in known space. As his transport ship departed for Veltaran space, Zefkar made a private decision. He would never recommend military action against humanity. Not because he admired them, but because he feared them. He had stood with Earth's warriors and learned their true nature, and that knowledge would haunt him forever. The stars outside his window looked different now. Each one might shelter a human colony. Each system might contain human ships. Each world might be under their protection. The galaxy had gained a new apex predator, and most species did not even know it yet. Zefkar closed his eyes and tried to forget the images burned into his memory. The casual efficiency of human violence, the cold calculation behind every tactical decision, the absolute certainty that they would do whatever it took to survive. But he could not forget. He would carry this burden for the rest of his life, knowing what humans were truly capable of and being unable to warn anyone about it, because some knowledge was too dangerous to share, even when keeping it secret might doom them all.